And today we're going to talk about YouTube golf club reviewers. And not only how did it start, but where is it now and where do I think it's going, or where do we think it's going in the future? So basically, YouTube is an amazing platform. It allows anyone and everyone to spread a message, which is awesome. And it reaches over 1 billion people, which is obviously a lot of people.
Wow.
Yeah. And originally it allowed a lot of the teaching pros that otherwise could only reach really their closest zip code, right? Meaning you have a guy that, is your swing coach 10, 15, 20 years ago. The only people that came to him, for the most part, unless you were a top 50 coach on Golf Digest list, was the people that lived in your local zip code. This really was an opportunity for educators and teachers to reach outside of that little area, that demographic, that geo-targeted area, and go, man, if I want to educate, I can now do that to the world, right? And that was a great platform for it. So that brings it to a lot of people email us or ask over the years, if you guys are supposed to be the most comprehensive golf equipment testers, why don't you do golf club reviews, or at least one-off golf club reviews on YouTube then? And there is a lot of reasons to that. Over the last 10 years with My Golf Spy, we've collected hundreds of thousands of shots and analyzed millions of data points, right? And what we realize is there's little to zero value for the golfer, for the consumer, in watching, listening to, or viewing a one-off golf club review. So why is that? Well, your swing is not like mine. And what that means is theirs is almost nothing like yours. Their swing speed is different. Their angle of attack is different. Their tempo is different. The way they deliver the club is unique, and it's not like yours. And also, 5 to 10 shots, which is what most of them collect, is not nearly enough data to tell you how a club will actually perform, especially when one shot out of those 5, which equals 20%, can completely throw off the entire tiny set of data. So when we're building our testing system, golf companies had a major problem when we were at 6 testers. Now think about that. They're at 1, right? We were at 6.
Sometimes 2.
Sometimes 2. When they throw the average golfer in there. But we were at 6. And we knew it wasn't enough. And the golf industry told us it wasn't enough. But it was the best we could do at the time. So we built a dedicated test facility and ramped it up to 35 testers. And because why we ramped it up? The golf industry was right. The leaders on equipment testing, the people that work for the manufacturers like Callaway, Titleist, TaylorMade, Ping, were right. You needed more data. You needed more testers, because think about it. Almost all of the tests that you're seeing on YouTube are showing 5 to 10 shots. And 9 times out of 10, those are all center strikes. What determines the actual performance of any golf club are actually the mishits. All golfers miss hit, so how does it perform when they're hit like golfers play golf with them? Which is why we hit close to 10,000 shots in our testing. That's what it takes to find out each club, when it's hit all over the face, how it's going to perform when you play like that. So that takes me to the next question. Why do YouTube golf club reviews still exist? And why are they still growing? And I think it started in a good place, meaning I think it all started off from wanting to educate the consumer, which is all that we're about, educate and empower the consumer. Unfortunately, what the business analytics show you, meaning the people that run these businesses see, the YouTuber, is that educating doesn't pay the bills, at least not quickly enough. And in order to grow those views, those subscribers, that fame, it becomes less about educating and almost all about entertaining. And that's why you don't see reviews of hybrids. Think about it. No one cares about seeing a hybrid review. They want to see drivers, and that's the lowest hanging fruit out there, okay? And the famous YouTubers that are out there might not like to hear what I'm saying, but any of them that have gotten big know exactly what I'm talking about because they've seen the data. And we're all about data, and we have a saying, and it says, "In data we trust." And all the data says education isn't the way to fame. And so that gets me to, where do you think this is going? And Tony, I'll start with you because you and I have been doing this the longest, and you and I have had so many conversations about should we do it? Why should we? Why shouldn't we? How do we get better? How do we do this the best to where it actually helps golfers make more informed decisions rather than just pumping out content? So do you think this is going to continue? And if you do, where is it going? And if you don't, what do you see stopping it?
Well, I mean, it's definitely going to continue, right? It's anybody who's looking for an opportunity, right? Whether it's to get some golf clubs for nothing, or to become YouTube famous, as we joke about, or just because they think they've got, I guess, a unique approach or something different. I mean, YouTube's not going to die. So I think you're going to see people continue to explore the golf space and the golf review space on YouTube. So although I jokingly say it'll go wherever Mark Crossfield takes it, because I think there was something to what he said when we talked to him at the PGA show about, he came out and he was doing his thing, and then a bunch of people came in that space, and so he had to move somewhere else, and to kind of followed him around. It feels like he's running away from himself. So I mean, big picture, you're gonna have innovators and copycats to a degree, but yeah, it's gonna keep going. And I think as launch monitors, right, that's to a degree sort of the key to everything, right, is the availability of the launch monitor. So I think as long as we continue to have launch monitors and they become more accessible, you're going to have more guys out there doing the YouTube review thing for sure.
But it does seem to be evolving. Like, look at the people that started, right? Let's take Crossfield. He's obviously evolved he still does club reviews, but he'll even tell you, I do club reviews not to tell you how the longest drive one is. It's this company says X. I want to see if X really is true. And kind of the new things that are coming out technologically, just to educate you on them, right? Which is good. But he does more teaching than he does golf club reviews anymore. So he's evolved.
For sure.
Right.
And you take even Rick Shields. He used to do a review a day, it seemed like, and now he's starting to do the things that get more views, meaning, I've got this 1,000cc driver or something, or I explode this ball. That's moving more towards entertainment than education, which I'm okay with that. Like, if you're in it for entertainment, go for it. But if you're out there trying to educate people and tell people that this club is that much better than this one, and you're hitting 5 shots, you're wasting your time. You're wasting my time. It's just a waste of time in general.
Right.
And that has proved itself to be true over years and years and years of people reviewing single golf clubs by a single golfer. There's zero value in it unless you have their exact swing, right? So I see Crossfield evolving. I see Shields evolving. And once those two guys evolve, there's going to be people I see that come in and try to take what they left. But I don't know. I just don't see it lasting anymore, And I see the golf companies probably smartening up to it.
Yeah, it seems like
What's that?
It's good for the golf companies. They love it. I mean, it's exposure, right? And as long as, for the most part, these guys play it reasonably safe, right? You've never heard anybody go, hey, this product is bad. It doesn't do what they say it does. It's, not nearly as good as 6 others that are supposedly just like it or worse, right?
Yeah, the most critical
so
they
very
usually
little of
get is
that,
the grip.
it's kind of a self-feeding beast.
Yeah, from a marketing standpoint, it's good exposure because video is a good medium for companies to get exposure.
I don't disagree with that, and maybe you're right and I'm wrong. Like, and this is a you pat my back, I pat your back industry. Mm-hmm. So if you take care of me, I take care of you. You do a bad review of some company, like My Golf Spy does, guess what?
That used to be, remember that? That was back in the day, right? Like, we were, and to a degree, it's still true, even though I think we've evolved past what I would call reviews. But even stories, one sentence here or there gets cherry picked. Call it a review, whatever you want to, whatever the words you want to use. We're only as good as our last one, right?
I'll never forget when
reality.
There was an article written on My Golf Spy. It was just an amazing article. I think Tony wrote it, and it was probably
sound like something, right?
I think it was 4,000 or 5,000 words, and there was one sentence.
That sounds like something, right?
Yes, that's how I know you wrote it. There was one sentence in the article, and it was about Nike, and we got a call from Nike within probably 15 minutes of publishing that article and said, we want you to take that down. And I went, did you read the rest of the article, or is that the only thing you saw? And no, we're not removing it. It's the truth. And that's the level of scrutiny, how they scrutinize the words that are written, the words that are said. And you got to play by their rules in this industry.
Well, they're trying to control the industry.
Oh,
So
they
to
want to
benefit
control the
the-
message.
It
control
is
everything.
changing a little bit. Finally starting to give a little bit, just because there's been sort of a rise in content creators, and so there's sort of just more out there in general, and because of the volume of what's out there, I think they're willing to give a little bit more leeway in some cases.
Yeah, and I've talked to
Maybe,
Crossfield
maybe
about
we've
that
just
too.
finally gotten big enough where it's
They realized we weren't going
Oh.
away.
I mean, yeah,
Well-
I think it's going more towards entertainment. I think there's a lot of golfers and just general public that are just out there, just
That's great.
let's sit down and watch 4 hours of YouTube
Hey,
videos. Just
I'm
for
totally
fun.
cool with that. You know what I mean? But if you're out there
Yeah, I
trying to go ahead, Tony.
I think just for me, the thing that's important, right, with YouTube or anywhere else, and I preface this like, look, I've gotten things wrong before. Everybody gets things wrong from time to time, and hopefully you correct it when you can. But for me, the big thing is just this idea that the source is reliable. He has good information. He knows what he's talking about. And an example, I saw something when the TS1 came out, it popped up on YouTube, and it was like the most forgiving Titleist driver ever. And I'm like, no, don't tell people that. It's not the most forgiving Titleist driver ever. It's not the most forgiving in the current lineup. And that may sound like a small detail, but if you've got a guy who feels like he's been waiting for a forgiving Titleist driver, he runs out and buys it. The basic information has to be good.
There's a lot of misinformation out there, that's for sure. So, and back to the purpose of it, I think, is there's two things: education and entertainment. If you're out for entertainment, cool. If you're out to be educated on how is this club right for me, we learned really early on the only way to do that is head-to-head testing at the same time, and there's reasons why. I'll give you one specific one. When we learned, let's say we have 35 drivers in a test, right? And when we learned just something long years ago that a golfer comes in to test the club and he goes from a heavy head to a light head, meaning he's got to test 6 drivers that day. How much just that difference between products can influence the data from one club positively or negatively to another? We went, oh man, like there are protocols that have to be in place and stuck to strictly, or else the data is garbage. And just imagine that over a 10,000 shot test. What's that?
So many things that we've sort of found over the years and have to kind of adjust for, right? And learn from, tweak our protocols, because like you never would have known it until you kind of stumbled upon it, and you're like, oh shit, all right, this is not expected. How do we make sure that we deal with this for the next time?
Yeah, and there's hundreds of those.
Really.
There's hundreds of those things that we've stumbled upon. We stumble upon them every day almost when we look at the data. Mm-hmm. So I feel like to go back to doing 5 shots with a single driver, with a single tester, that is taking us 10 years back. And yet that is what is becoming the most popular because it's the lowest, easiest hanging fruit to grab that's possible. And that is driver come in, hit 5 shots, get rid of driver, go to the next.
But do you think too it's because a lot of people they just want to be told what to buy quickly, easily. They want it to be as simple as what these guys are doing.
That might be part of the reason that it has gotten as popular, but a lot of it is because people love drivers, people love distance, people love quick and easy, tell me what's right. Mm-hmm. People also love to be entertained. People also love personalities. So, Tony, what were you saying about doctors, like an analogy?
Yeah, there's a study I saw a while back that showed that people are less likely, and we're talking about malpractice suit here, are less likely to sue a bad doctor that they like than they are a good doctor with a bad bedside manner. So,
and why is that?
I guess you don't want to go after a guy you like, right? And so you tend to, or if you like the guy, you probably sort of are more inclined to believe that things aren't his fault, or he knows what he's doing, or things like that.
Yeah, and the good guys.
Skeptical of someone.
That's why I think there's golfers out there that will lean towards one manufacturer than the other, and subconsciously in their mind, say it's for instance TaylorMade. He said, "Oh, I've had a TaylorMade in previous years, kind of like it." And then if someone sees like the new TaylorMade's out, and you see that review, it just puts that little bit of validation for them. If they say one good thing, all right, I'm gonna get.
That's all they need.
That's all they need.
What is that?
Literally
Confirmation bias and validation.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Like so,
where they think that the product is going to be good. So
yeah,
well,
they're looking for
golfers have tremendously long memories anyway. It seems like, so you'll talk to a guy who who bought a driver he liked in 1994. He bought a driver, he really liked it, and so he's bought nothing but that brand since. Or
Correct.
conversely,
Which
in
makes zero sense.
1998,
because the company could never get anything wrong from that point on. You know, every
Right, no,
driver from that on has to be
that's-
better
Yeah.
than the one that he was
But that's
playing.
when brand loyalist comes
Yeah.
into
I
play.
was
It's a
actually watching
beautiful
one of
thing.
Crossfield videos. I don't watch many videos, but I was watching one of his, and he was talking about his dad. You know, Crossfield's pretty critical of companies' claims, just like we
Yeah.
are. Rightfully so, because a lot of them are bullshit, right? And he was talking about his dad came up to him and said, "But why would they tell me that's true if it wasn't true?" And he was like, "Dad, are you kidding me?"
To sell products.
Yeah, but that's how a lot of consumers think. Why would a company tell me something if it wasn't true?
They couldn't be wrong. They couldn't be lying to me.
Wait.
They couldn't be.
Trying to
It couldn't
persuade
just be
me.
marketing. Yeah, it couldn't be
It's
persuasive
exactly
marketing.
with everything else in the world, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
it's,
you know,
I mean, companies have literally lied about things that have caused people to die, right? When you look at some of the
Today
the
someone is
pharmaceuticals
doing
and
that.
It
things
happens
like that
every
out there.
single
So,
day.
Vape
I mean,
today.
to stretch the truth on a golf club.
what is that
It's not-
statement you always
But you
say,
don't
Tony?
want to believe that they would do that. You don't want to believe that they would lie to you.
What is the statement that the industry kind of has accepted when we talk to insiders about they're willing to stretch the truth, but
Oh yeah, no, everybody gets to be a little bit full of shit. Nobody gets to be totally full of shit. That's kind of where the line is.
and that comes from golf industry people.
Well, it's definitely something that we've talked about. Everybody kind of nods in agreement over. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's that's just marketing, right? I had one marketing guy tell me not too long ago that one of the guys I like, he said, "Look, we stretch the truth," or he said, "We're storytellers, but we don't lie." So that's and that's I mean, there's always a line there, right? But that's storytelling.
So back to the purpose of the conversation, and that is YouTube golf club reviewers, education or entertainment. If you're in it for entertainment, by all
Right.
means enjoy it, right? If you're there to be educated and find out what the best club for you is, and it's based on a single golfer hitting 5 to 10 shots and with one club, you're wasting your time. So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, moving on.